Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the Game Week 8 deadline stream. So finally, FPL is back. We have had quite a bit of a break. International breaks honestly have been quite, I think, uneventful. Even the previous one also didn't seem very eventful for the, I don't know, kind of Nations League. But yeah, thankfully it's over now. We are a couple of hours away from the Game Week 8 deadline. And of course, a lot of things have come up of late. A couple of questions with regards to Saka, for example, which I don't think we have any kind of conclusive news, but there are a couple of clips going on around Twitter about whether Saka's arriving with the squad, and a lot of people are. I'll show you guys the tweet, but basically, lots of controversy as to whether Saka is going to start. So we'll get into that in a bit. And I also have kind of changed a bit of my plans for my own team. And I may be making a transfer. I may be doing Saka to Son this week. So that is honestly the only transfer I'm eyeing up right now. But aside from that, I think I'm pretty happy with the rest of my squad. So let's say hi to some of you guys in the chat. Thank you for coming down nice and early as always. Grain bread pastry. VJ, nice to see you here. Always one of the first ones. Hey, from a rain-soaked York, UK. Yeah, I mean it's pretty rainy here in Singapore as well. I mean probably not related in any means, but yeah. Nicholas says, hey Leon, I'm related to FPL, but when my girlfriend passed away a few months ago, I'm sorry to hear that. Took online counseling sessions with Mindset. Thanks to their support, I'm in a much better place now. That's really, really nice to hear. So, yeah, I mean, that's a good, I guess, segue into today's stream. So basically, we launched a charity drive during the international break, and that was launched on World Mental Health Day. And the kind of charity that we've decided to donate to, I did a bit of research as well, and I really like the work that Mindset is doing. They raise public awareness for mental health. They also reach out to people who need help in this area, which is something close to my heart as well. So I do think like that is the charity I want to donate to as well. So everything from today's stream, whether it's subscribers that we gain, that I'll be donating more money to Mindset, or super chats or whatever donations, all will go to, even the revenue from today's stream, everything will go to Mindset. So today's stream will be a charity stream as shown in the kind of title of the stream. So yeah, hopefully we'll be able to raise some money for Mindset in the process as well. But yeah, so that's a good segue. Nice to hear, Nicholas, that you've had good experiences with Mindset, and yeah, I'm glad that you're in a much better place now. Okay, so JS says, waking up on deadline day once again. Team is looking strong. We'll try to roll up to game week 12. Yeah, to be honest, I don't see myself making too many transfers in the next few game weeks as well. Honestly, if I do Saka to Son, which is the only move I'm eyeing up right now, I don't see myself needing to make any other real transfers. Right, so I'll speak more about my team in a bit. Let me just get to some of your questions. Right, Ricardo says, hello mate, finally, good morning from Cape Verde. Bench 1, Semenyo, Dibbling and Rogers, probably Semenyo. Tottenham for life, good morning, I'm up early just for this stream, thank you very much for tuning in. Oh, used to be Scorch. Yeah. Okay, cool. Change the username. Okay, so yeah, this is where we're at basically. Let me just speak a bit about my team. So in terms of transfers for game week 8, based on the previous kind of plans that I had, there was no initial plans, I guess, to make any transfers. I wanted to roll. And then in game week 9, I intended to sell Saka and Havertz. That was the early kind of plans. But now obviously Havertz has looked really, really good. And I'm not certain I want to do Havertz to Solanke in game week 9. In which case, I also don't mind keeping Havertz through the difficult fixtures, because he also feels to me like a bit of a big game player. and I would imagine that Arsenal will still be able to score in the next few game weeks despite the tricky run. Like I think defensively, maybe those fixtures that we see here from game week 9 to 10, it might not be super easy to keep clean sheets. I mean, it is Arsenal at the end of the day, but Liverpool at home, Newcastle away, Chelsea away. Honestly, the Newcastle away and Chelsea away fixture, I do think like Arsenal could get a couple of goals there. So I do think like attackingly, I don't mind keeping Kai Havertz in the team. And then that also makes me think then, if I don't mind keeping Havertz and I don't really want to go for Solanke, but I still want Spurs assets, then Saka to Son is probably the most likely way for me to get entry into that Spurs attack. I could obviously go for Maddison, for example, but I also do think like Son is the one on penalties, and I mean he is the kind of more attacking player for them. I mean James Maddison has also been looking very involved, whether it's creating chances or getting goals here and there. But I just think that if I want to go for a kind of a differential, I don't mind Son being someone that I go for the next few game weeks. Eventually, I will take him out of the team because I do think like the eventual structure for my team will be a Saka, Palmer, and Haaland move, or Saka, Palmer, and Haaland team. But I just do think like going Saka to Son here, if we do get leaks, of course. I mean, I'm as of now I'm likely to make the move, but if we get leaks, I'm even more likely, right? For example, if Son starts, so I won't be making moves right now. I'll try to wait for a bit more leaks. I don't think we get Arsenal leaks as well, to be honest. But yeah, as of now, I'm very likely to do Saka to Son before the deadline. Right. So aside from that, the other kind of players in my team, I'm pretty happy with. And the decision to start Trent ahead of Aina, I think I'm still going to stick with that. And yeah, roll with something like this for game week 8 with my team. So we'll see how it goes. Joshua says, hello, what do you think of Foden as a punt before Palmer in game week 12? So there's really only two main, I think, players that people are looking at to replace Saka, and that is Foden and Son. So my thoughts about Foden is that Kevin De Bruyne is back in training already, and initial reports were that Kevin De Bruyne wasn't going to be back very, very soon. But the fact is that he is now back in training already, which makes me think it would be sooner rather than the kind of timeline we expected before we saw the training pictures of Kevin De Bruyne. In which case, I do think like the minutes for Foden starts to come under threat much sooner from Kevin De Bruyne, right? So in which case, I also do think like in terms of a short-term punt, it could work against Wolves, maybe against Southampton. You could argue that you maybe get a start from Foden there as well. But after that, I don't think Foden's minutes are very secure. You could also say that the next two are really the banker fixtures for Man City, which is the Wolves and Southampton game. But my kind of thinking is that I would need this player for about 4 game weeks until game week 12 essentially. So obviously I'd rather go for someone that I'm quite certain will start these 4 games and get good minutes in it, and also is on penalties, which is Son, compared to Foden, for example, who I can't be certain he's going to start every single game. And obviously, if Kevin De Bruyne comes back, that comes under threat even more. So that's my main thinking as to why I haven't considered Foden for this Saka move. I mean, I did consider him, but I'm not going to go there. I think I probably do Saka to Son as the only move that I'm thinking about. So that's pretty much what I'm thinking about in terms of Foden and Son in terms of Saka replacements. Dibbling or McNeil this week? I prefer McNeil. He's on set pieces, a lot of set pieces. And Everton do have Tarkowski, do have Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I mean, and that's of course on top of his open play attacking threat. Nathan says, morning Leon, good morning to you too. 2 questions. Firstly, what's your favorite hawker centre in Singapore? Secondly, who are you planning to sacrifice to get Palmer in later? I'll speak about the second question first, which is the more FPR related one. I am intending to get Trent out of my team by the time I need to get both Saka and Palmer back into the team. So for the time being, once I've done this Saka to Son move, come game week 12, Son becomes Palmer. So I guess you could say that Son is the one going to give way. But if I want both Saka and Palmer, then I will have to sell Trent, and he's going to be the one that's going to enable me to get to the structure that I want. So that I guess is the player that I'm going to sacrifice. Favorite hawker center in Singapore, there's a lot of good ones. I think if you've been before, Bedok is pretty good. Yeah, Bedok 85, like Block 85. That's what they call it. So the market there is really, really good. So you could try it out if you come down to Singapore. William Blue Moon says, do you think I should get Foden in for Saka when I plan to get Foden in next week for him anyways? So this is exactly the dilemma that I was in. And last night I kind of posted on the broadcast channel on Instagram. I'll speak about it in a while, right? But basically I was having second thoughts on whether I should just go 1 week early, right? Bring my move from game week 9 forward now to game week 8, because I already planned to sell Saka then. And Bournemouth away specifically, I don't think is that plump of a fixture for Arsenal as well. Like defensively at home, Bournemouth are pretty decent. So why not make the move now? And I think it makes a lot of sense as well, especially if you're going for someone like Foden. Wolves away and Southampton at home are the two main banker fixtures for the next 2 game weeks. So because of that, I do think like that makes a lot of sense, right? To go early. And basically, in terms of Son as well, he's someone that I think when I compare to Foden, I prefer Son. So then I look at the game week 8 fixture for Son and whether it makes sense for me to bring this move forward as well. And it does, right? It's West Ham at home now too. So I do think like if you're kind of thinking of already getting rid of Saka come game week 9, I don't mind bringing that move forward. And yeah, I think that's the main reason why I'm thinking so hard about whether Saka to Son is the move I want to make. What about Trent plans? So I'll be selling Trent. Player that I want to bring in is 8 Nuri. The main issue I have with 8 Nuri is he is on 3 yellow cards. So if he gets another yellow card against Manchester City, that will put him on 4 yellow cards and basically 1 away from suspension. So that would be quite tricky. And it's the main reason also why I decided to keep Trent this week and not sell him, because I want a bit more time to assess how Liverpool do against a stronger attack as compared to the teams that they played against in the first few game weeks. And secondly, also just assess the quality of the replacements. Do I really want 8 Nuri if he has 4 yellow cards? And things like that. So a lot can change, and I don't see a real need to shift away from Trent now. So I've kept him here, but I do think like moving forward, he's going to be 8 Nuri when I want Palmer and Saka both in my team. Toby, nice to see you in the chat, another member as well. Sell Salah and Watkins and buy Haaland and Johnson. Sell Salah and Watkins to buy Haaland and Johnson. Yeah, I think those moves work well, especially if you're captaining Haaland. Would you swap Palmer for Foden? Not this week. Not this. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. To be fair, any week. I wouldn't do it any week. Like that's not a move I would consider. If you have Palmer already, just keep him in your team. Like he's an asset that you will come game week 12 want to have anyways. So if he's in your team, I don't see why you need to rush to sell him. Okay. Yep. So FPL Vasilios, good morning to you. Good luck this weekend with your team. Thank you very much. You give useful insights on the game. They've helped a lot. Thank you very much for that. I'm glad I'm able to help. Johnson or Madison. So this mainly for me comes down to firstly budget. Like will going for Madison, who is 1 million more expensive, block your moves later down the line. That's one. Secondly, what kind of FPL manager are you? And how do you view these two assets? Because Johnson is the one with better goal threat. Maddison is the one with more creativity. Not that he can't get goals as well. His expected goal involvement for Maddison at one point in time this season was second only to Haaland, right? And that was the time when Haaland was kind of banging in goals week in, week out. So he has good numbers. So I think for me, you can't go too wrong whether you go from Johnson or Maddison. I just prefer, especially team structure wise as well, in the plans I have moving forward, I just prefer to take Johnson and bank the extra 1 million. So Johnson and Maddison is basically I did a comparison of both of them as well early on in the week in the transfer tips video. And I would imagine that a lot of people thinking about bringing in Spurs assets right now are thinking between these two. So I'm also keen to know where you guys are landing. Like if you're in the chat and you are kind of thinking of which one to bring in, let me know who you prefer, Johnson or Maddison. Ali Max says, why Son over Maddison? That's a great question. Because obviously Maddison is cheaper, right? So I can obviously, if I can afford Son, I can also afford Maddison. Main reason here is firstly penalties, because Son will excuse me, Son will likely be on penalties once he's back, and he is fit and available. And also he's gotten quite a bit of, I guess, recovery time or rest time. He didn't travel with the squad. So basically, I'm a little bit more confident of Son for the next few game weeks. And when I compare also in terms of the type of player they are, and the role that they play in the team, Maddison always feels to me like he's a little bit more on the creative end. And he plays now in some form of you can call it an 8 or call it a 10, but he plays beside Kulusevski behind the front three attackers. So right now, if I'm going off what we saw against Brighton last game week 7, which felt like ages ago already, Solanke was dropping very, very deep, much deeper than he usually did. And then that opened up space at the back for players like Werner and Brennan Johnson to run into. So if that continues to be the case, then if Son is fit, he's going to come in Werner's position, and he's going to get a lot of that space and those chances for him to score. And we know how clinical Son is. So I kind of want to tap on that a little bit as well. And I did also see in the Brighton game a couple of times that Werner had really good chances. He was clear, there was open space in front of him, but he kind of, did what Werner usually does and just didn't do very well in the spot. So I think if you put Son in that spot, definitely we could see something. So I guess it's a mix of what Son offers in terms of an asset, but also how I think Spurs are going to play moving forward if we continue to see that. So for now, that's where I'm at. Son over Maddison. If I'm to rank like in terms of Spurs assets, I still put Son up there, but I think Johnson comes second, then Solanke, then Maddison. Like if I'm to rank all the kind of Spurs attackers that we're looking at right now. Alright, so there's a couple more of you guys coming into the stream. Thank you very much for tuning in. 140 viewers already. If you just joined, we are doing a charity stream, which basically means that everything that we get from today's stream, whether it is super chats, whether it's donations, everything will go to Mindset Charity. If you've watched the videos in the past week, you'll know that we are running a charity drive as well. So also, if you're not subscribed, feel free to subscribe, and you will kind of be contributing to charity basically. So that's for those of you guys who just joined. Do I think Savinho will start for City? Honestly, can we be certain if the player's name is not Haaland and Ederson? Can we be certain that any of the rest will start? Like everyone else is a doubt, but Savinho, I think it really depends, right? The reason why I feel there was more rotation in the past few games is because Pep preferred someone that was stronger in possession and keeping the ball, someone like Bernardo Silva to operate on the right, and instead of Savinho, who's obviously someone a little bit more explosive, but there's more risk with the style of play that he possesses. So because of that, I think it will largely come down to how he wants to set up against the opponents. But I would think, of course, that if it's against Wolves, it's not a very strong defense that you need to be so conservative and pragmatic, in which case I think Savino is the more likely to start. But this is obviously just, my own opinion and guesswork on this. But we don't know for certain. That's the, I guess, short answer. Rogers or Smith Rowe. I also have Salah and Nicholas Jackson. Both keep in my starting 11. I think it's fine to keep Salah. Jackson as well. I mean, I don't mind selling Jackson for Solanke, I'll be honest. Rogers or Smith Rowe. If I'm to choose one to start this week, I might go Smith Rowe because it's the home fixture for him. Like, he's the one playing at home, so I might go there. Saka for Foden or Son. I would sell at this point in time. I'm also thinking about this dilemma, but I'm leaning towards Son. Got Johnson and Solanke. Then it's slightly different though. If you already have double Spurs, I don't think I'd be so keen to triple up on Spurs attack. That feels a bit too heavy of an investment for me. So in your case, I'd actually keep Saka, because for what it's worth, I do think like Saka will start. Like I did put out a comment or a chat in the broadcast channel on Instagram. I did say that I think Saka will start, but my main thinking now is simply if they want to be a little bit more conservative with Saka, with Champions League coming up, for example, and they know he's nursing a bit of a hamstring issue, I don't rule out the possibility that maybe he could get subbed early. And I mean, I know that does not happen a lot for Saka, but it is one of those possibilities. For what it's worth, I still think he will start. But again, Bournemouth away is not a super plump fixture for Saka. So I don't mind making the move and just going a little bit early instead of selling Saka next week. So in your position, you have Johnson and Solanke. I probably just keep Saka first, and then sell him next week, simply because you already have double Spurs. VJ says, let's get the likes flowing. If you guys are watching and you haven't liked the stream, please do drop a like. We are on 34 likes today. We try to aim for 100 likes as always. So if you're watching and you haven't liked the stream, please do help to drop a like. It really, really helps the algorithm. Play Rogers or Dibbling. I have Watkins, so I don't want to double up against Fulham. What are your views? So I guess you kind of answer your question there. If you don't want to double up on Aston Villa, which I think is an alright thinking as well, because Fulham at Craven Cottage are pretty good. So I would say I don't mind starting Dibbling against Leicester. Keep Jota or replace him for Mbumo. I've seen a couple of predicted lineups for Liverpool. They predict that Jota will start. But again, those are predictions, right? And in terms of Mbumo, he's a player you definitely want for the long term. So I don't mind just making that move right now, despite Manchester United away for Mbumo. John, nice to see you. Good afternoon from Australia. In isolation, who is better, Son or Foden? I want to say Son because he offers more things in terms of an FPL asset. He's more nailed for minutes. He's also on penalties. And I think fixtures moving forward for Spurs are good for a longer period of time than they are for Man City, where the fixtures start to turn a little bit from, I think, game week 12 onwards, in which case there will be people, trust me, when game week 12 comes around, there will be people thinking about selling Haaland for the run that they have moving forward, and it will get very, very tempting. So yeah, in terms of an FPL asset wise, I prefer Son over Foden. Johnson for me even scored for Wales, yeah, and in fact he didn't even play the full game. Like, he was taken off. He got a knock in that game as well. Replace Diaz with Rogers. I think there are better replacements you can go for. If you have the money, you can always go Johnson or Maddison, and if you have more money in the bank, you can go Son as well. Maddison over Johnson because Maddison looks like my nephew. Exactly why we have to go for Maddison. Ryan says, hey dude, also have Saka and Havertz. Considering selling one or both of them this week, I'm considering Saka to Foden and Son. Same here. I'm actually only considering Saka to Son. I don't think I want to go for Foden. I don't think I'm the kind of FPL manager that goes for a risky asset like Foden. So Arnold says, why have you put ads on this live video? I can't control the ads. I think YouTube has this kind of function where they just automatically run the ads as and when. So I can't kind of control it. But not to worry. I mean, all the money is going to charity, so it's all good. What do you think of Trent and Trossard to Lewis and Foden for a hit? I don't really like that move for a hit, I'll be honest. Because I think Trent and Trossard are fine to keep for this week. And Odegaard is getting back to fitness, but he's not going to be, back in the 11 so soon. Like game week 8, I think Trossard is fine. So therefore, I don't mind just keeping Trent and Trossard. Lewis and Foden, for what it's worth, I think they will. This feels to me like a move that could look very good on paper, but could also backfire like crazy. So, I mean, again, it depends on what kind of FPL manager you are, but personally, I wouldn't do that. Delep or McNeil, I want to say McNeil. Chewy FPL says, how's it going, bro? Nice to see you. Can only start one of Robinson, Face, and Konza. Who would you start? I think Robinson against Aston Villa. I do think Villa will pick up a goal there, at least. Face, will Southampton do well? And Konza. Right, in terms of XG wise, in terms of XGC wise, Konza is the one that has been, or Aston Villa rather, are the team that have been performing pretty well, of course, out of all these other teams. In attacking threat, I think you'd say that Robinson is better in terms of attacking threat. It's quite a tricky decision. I don't think I would start Face. It's between Robinson and Konza for me. And at this point, maybe Konza, because I do think Villa will nick a goal. What do you think about Robertson and Semenyo out, Lewis and Johnson in, or you have Varial and double Arsenal defense? The thing about Semenyo, the thing about his fixtures is that after game week 10, his fixtures get really good. So I don't think he's a must sell if you have a bench option that you can start. Like in my position, I'm starting Rodgers instead of Semenyo, and that is the plan for the next few game weeks. And then when Semenyo's fixtures get good, it also comes at a time when Rodgers' fixtures are bad. So I think the rotation works well, and if you happen to have something like this, I don't mind keeping Semenyo. In which case, I think Robertson to someone like Lewis works as well. But you already have Vardiol, so you could obviously go elsewhere. You could go 8 Nuri earlier if you don't need to play this Robertson spot. Assuming you do need, then maybe Pedro Porro, someone to consider. How would you rank Johnson, Eze, and Raul Jimenez from best to worst? Johnson, Eze, and Raul Jimenez. I have to say Johnson, and then Eze, and then Raul Jimenez. Why don't you do Havertz to Solanke? I just don't like Solanke's positions right now. I mean, I say this, but I know that in the weeks before he was doing really well. So I think it really depends on how, I guess, maybe Ange instructs Solanke to play. Like some games he's getting so many big chances because he operates in a specific way, and then against Brighton he dropped so deep, and then the space was in behind for players like Brennan Johnson to run into. So I can't be for certain. If I know that Solanke is going to play in the position or in the style that he did in the first few game weeks. And I think by far and away I would do it. But based off of the Brighton performance, which is what we have to go by for now, I think I prefer just having Havertz here and then just doing Saka to Son to get an extra Spurs asset. Who are you selling in your team? Likely Saka. Right, so I think it's a good time as well, like that a couple of you guys have already joined the stream. If you guys want to keep up to date with all of my moves, exactly when I make it, and also what I think about whenever big news comes out, I have created a broadcast channel on Instagram. So I've decided to just find a way to be more, I guess, transparent or be able to update you guys as and when I make moves. So I've created an Instagram broadcast channel, and I'll link it in the chat. So if you guys want to know exactly when I make my moves, I'm going to be just posting regularly there as and when I make transfers. So if it's something you are interested in, it's completely free. You can just join the broadcast channel. So I'm going to spam the link in the chat, and you guys can check it out and join it if you so wish to. Right, yeah, but basically Saka is the one that I plan to sell. To be fair, Saka limps at the end of every game. Yeah, I mean there is such a thing as the Saka limp. I think Saka is better than Son this year. Bold calls. But I think it is the case for the first few game weeks. But I wouldn't rule out like the possibility of Son just doing well in the next few as well. Like we just know how good of a player Son is. Saka also right now just seems like he's on another planet. So I think it's early to call. Still a couple of good fixtures for Spurs coming up, and I think Son could do well. So let's see. For now, obviously, it looks like what you're saying is true. Right, Rogers or Archer? Has to be Rogers. What's the hype with Dibbling? I think it's fixtures. Mainly it's the fixtures that look pretty good for him. So Leicester now. And I think later down the line there's also one pretty good one. So I think that's the main reason. Also the price. That's why people are going for him. I'm thinking of starting Traore and Mavdidi in my midfield alongside Saka and Mbumo. Have some menu as for a sub. Front three, yeah, it looks good. Chelsea versus Liverpool score prediction. I am a Chelsea fan, but I do think like Liverpool defensively are pretty solid this season. So at the most, I'd say we get 1 goal. And then in terms of our defense against a Liverpool attack, I'm not super confident. So maybe a 2-1 or a 3-1. That's likely. I think that's my prediction. Unfortunately, I think I do hope we win, but I don't think we are there at this point. So Saka out, Salah in, Mbumo out, Palmer in, Havertz out, Calvert-Lewin in. Done. Thank me later. Yeah, I mean those moves are fine. I think it's interesting you went for Salah instead of someone like Son with the fixtures they have moving forward, but hopefully that works out for you. VJ, thank you very much for the super chat. Thank you for the donation as well. Yeah, hopefully we will be able to raise as much money as we can for Mindset. And as it stands already, there's a good amount. So I will make the donation once we hit the kind of 10k subscriber mark. So that will be kind of a milestone for the channel, but also yeah, hopefully we will be able to do something good for charity. Should I do Havertz to Solanke? I got Saka and Johnson. I don't mind it. I don't mind it. Like when you guys are in a similar situation to mine, I guess, where you're thinking whether you rather sell Harvards or Saka, I don't think there's much to separate. Like if you want to go for Solanke and replace Harvards, I don't think it's so much more different as compared to replacing Saka with Son, because for my own plans, I did intend to sell both of them come game week 9. Now this may not be the case for everyone. I do think like there are a couple of you guys who intended to keep Saka all the way through the kind of tougher fixture run that they had, in which case then I think it makes more sense for you to kind of stick to your plan if that's still what you want to do, and then do Havertz to Solanke. Right, so I don't mind it. I don't think it's a clear cut kind of one is better than the other situation. Delap or Raul Jimenez? I prefer Delap. Fixtures are good for I think a longer period of time, and also I would be more secure of Delap's minutes. Raul Jimenez always feels to me like he is, I would say, 2 to 3 bad performances in a row, I guess, away from a benching and then Rodrigo Muniz coming back in. Play Martinelli. Martinelli, in terms of injury updates, I think he picked up something in the internationals or during the international break. But I also do think like he should be fine. I mean, based on what we saw, he did arrive with the squad at Bournemouth. So we'll see. We'll see. Which goalkeeper would be better to start, Raya or Henderson? Has to be Raya. Sanchez, Lewis, Trent, Porro, Vought-Face, Palmer, Jota, Bumo, Rogers, Haaland, Watkins, Smith, or Robinson on the bench. Villa fan here. How many transfers and how much in the bank? Would you start Konza versus Fulham or Harold Bellis versus Leicester? Konza against Fulham. Start Trent or Konza? Trent. Clint, all good. Angelo says, is Salah to Foden now worth it for a free transfer or do it next week? I keep Salah. I keep Salah against Chelsea. In isolation, Delap or Raul Jimenez, I go Delap. Start Konza or Calvert-Lewin? Calvert-Lewin. Prefer the attacker. Foden and Porro or Saka and Lewis? For now, I still say Saka and Lewis. Delap or Vardy? I still say Delap. What do you think about Salah and Watkins to Haaland and Jota for -4? I wouldn't go Haaland and Jota. But I think the -4, if you intend to captain Haaland, is justified. So I don't mind the hit. I just would replace this Jota, this transfer in for Jota with someone else, like a Spurs midfielder. So maybe something like Salah and Watkins to Haaland and Johnson, or Haaland and Madison, for example. Start Rogers or McNeil. I'd say McNeil. It's close, but I'd say McNeil. Ramadian, nice to see you in the stream. 2 free transfers, 0.1 million in the bank. Should I keep Diaz or sell him for Johnson or Foden? I think I would go Johnson. I go Johnson. Jackson to Solanke, Delap / Cunha or roll. I like the punt on Delap or Cunha. So I really, really like Cunha. Like, I'm really hot on Cunha, and he will be coming into my team sooner rather than later. So if I have to choose, I wanna say Cunha, but it feels to me like you need a player this, like if you're selling Jackson, you need him to play this week. If you're okay to take Cunha against Manchester City, then fair enough. You can go for Cunha. But if not, I think the sensible move is probably Solanke. Triple cap Haaland or wait till next week. I wouldn't do it this week against Wolves, I think. In fact, like Kevin De Bruyne is coming back soon. And I think this is a huge reason again why I think there were like people who triple captain earlier. Is like based on the situation, like how many players are fit, the players that you want fit, what are the kind of fixture congestions and things like that. So I think the next kind of window for this, I think Southampton next week is also a decent triple captain week. But if not, I think later down the line, like 18 or closer to the higher 20s kind of game weeks, there will be more opportunities. So I don't mind it. And maybe then Kevin De Bruyne is fit. So I would wait for Kevin De Bruyne to come back before I triple captain Haaland, because he is coming back soon. Like his return is imminent. Gordon or Bowen? I think Newcastle's fixtures are pretty bad, so probably Bowen if I have to choose between them. Start Konza, Keane or Greaves. Konza. Would you start Aina instead of Rogers or Mbumo? Firstly, nice to see you, Ricky, member in the chat. I think I wouldn't start Aina ahead of either of them. I think I would still put Aina first on the bench. Like I'm in exactly the same position, but I think I prefer to start the attacker. Who to start with, Rogers or Smith Rowe? I would go Smith Rowe. I'll go Smith Rowe ahead of Rogers. I think Smith Rowe will start. Imagine Son gets the chances that Werner spurned against Brighton. Son would have scored at least one of those. Exactly what I feel. But that also comes down to if Solanke continues to drop deep, and if that is what we see Spurs set up with. Would you go for Adama or Rogers this game week? See, with Adama, Traore is slightly different. Like I just don't really think he's a very good finisher. Like he's a very explosive asset, but I think I don't really back his finishing, if I'm honest. Chewy says, never knew you were you were a Chelsea fan. Yes, I am. Rogers or McNeil? I think I would go McNeil. Toby says, Leon, you need Nigel the Crab. Who is Nigel the Crab? Daniela, Chelsea fan as well. Very, very nice. Start Rogers or McNeil. I go for McNeil. Havertz is fit, right? Based off of... Wait, is my camera lagging a little bit? Let me know if there's a bit of an issue. If I'm lagging, let me know in the chat. Hopefully I'm not. Could be my internet. So Havertz is fit. I mean, based on what we heard from Arteta, he wanted to see if Havertz was going to train later in the day after the press conference before he made a call. But my guess is he is. So my guess is he is fit. Start Konza, Greaves, Keane. I would say Konza. Triple captain Haaland game week 9. I think that could be the next actual window that I consider. In isolation, Wood or Cunha. If you're buying one this week, I would actually buy Wood. But next week it becomes Cunha. So it's quite subjective. If you're okay to take again the Man City at home fixture for Wolves, then I prefer Cunha then. Dominic Calvert-Lewin or Rogers? I would start Calvert-Lewin this week. Hey man, fan from Malaysia here. Thank you for tuning in. Current defense is Gabriel, Porro, Voultface, Caldwell, and Greaves. Which defender should I swap? You could do Colwell to Lewis. I don't mind that. I don't mind that move. Palmer says, "Love your stream. How should I call you? Call you? I mean, my name is Leon. If you, if you're thinking about how you can address me, um, start Smith Rowe or Johnson. Um, I would say Johnson for sure. Like Smith Rowe, I don't mind benching if you. I don't mind benching Smith Rowe if he's first bench. I think it's okay. Like he's not a must start. Graham Bread Pastry says, "What's up from Australia?" Very, very nice. Thank you for tuning in. Chewy says, "Don't hate starting Cunha this game week, to be fair. Did some research on City defense for a thread. Wouldn't be surprised if they concede." Yeah, I mean, to be fair, City have been conceding every other game, right? It's not looked good for City defense, basically. What do you think of Son captain, as I don't have Haaland? Not super keen on that, but I can understand why. Like, if I do bring Son in, he would be my vice captain. I guess I don't mind it. I guess I don't mind it. Konza out and bring Lewis in. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it. Wolves away, Southampton at home the next two. I don't mind it. Is Davies worth the extra 0.4? He has few options to assist to. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind Davies if you have the money. The main thinking for me is, at the end of the day, I think defensive assets wise, the bread and butter of their points is clean sheets. So I do hope that at least the defense has to be good enough. So I think Ipswich defensive numbers have not been really good. So for Davies, I guess the case is that his attacking threat is absolutely stellar, in which case maybe it's worth just taking a chance on him. The only thing I would say is whether this extra 0.4 is going to block your moves moving forward. If it does, then I'm not so keen on this upgrade. Bench one of Rogers, Dibbling, Saka, and Havertz. Has to be between Rogers and Dibbling. I think, in fact, I may just bench Dibbling. Have Aina or Rogers first on the bench. Aina. Arwin, nice to see you in the chat. Member as well. Question is, what do you do if you are 3.5 million rank? Is it time to give up an FPL? Nah, it's not time to give up an FPL. There's lots of opportunities later down the line to regain a good position. Like, the ranks, to be honest, are still very, very bunched up. Like, one haul from a player that is maybe less owned than just someone who's slightly more of a bit of a differential, then you can really just shoot up very quickly. So I would say don't give up. Like, there's still a couple more opportunities and lots more game weeks to go. Start 2 from Rogers, McNeil, and Cunha. I don't mind benching Cunha this week. But then again, Man City have been conceding every other week. I think it's just the fixtures on paper, right? Like, Rogers and McNeil have better fixtures on paper than Cunha. Lagged for a second. Camera all good. Yeah, I'm hoping it's not lagging. I am seeing a couple of I'm seeing a couple of settings that are twitchy right now, so hopefully it's all good. Hopefully it's all good. If at any point it starts lagging again, just let me know. Played Rogers or Dibbling? Rogers. Palmer or Johnson? If it's to start one, I think you start both, right? There has to be other players that you can bench. If you're bringing in either one, Palmer or Johnson, I honestly don't think this is the week to bring Palmer in. Like, I would go Johnson. As if for Trossard, that feels like a short-term move to me. Backline is Lewis, Porro, Gabriel, Aina. Start Robinson over any of them. Nah. I would go there. I would just line up exactly as you did and then bench Robinson. Nigel the Crab is a Holly Shand moderator of celebrity status. Have a decent squad for game week 9. Play triple captain Haaland or bench boost or wait. Definitely not bench boost. Definitely not bench boost. Triple captain, I think, closer to the time, we'll get to see. Closer to the time, we'll get to see. Okay, so something just I'm having some tech issues today. Something just popped up. Is the stream still running though? Can you spam in the chat? Help me out here and spam in the chat if everything is going alright. Because I just got a couple of tech glitches on my end, so hopefully everything's okay. It seems like it's all good now, so hopefully it is. Alright. Cool. Not sure what happened. I think the internet is quite wonky today, yeah? Right, let me get back to the questions. If Calvert Lewin doesn't perform this week, should I sell him for Cunha next? I think that would be quite tempting, right? That would definitely be quite tempting, and I don't mind the move. Oscar says, my consultant, good morning from Nigeria. Thank you for tuning in. Have Mikalenko and Greaves on the bench. How would you order them? I have Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I would start Mikalenko and I'll bench Greaves. Mikalenko seems fine. Injury-wise, of course. Like, he's back in training already. Will Edison play this game week? Yeah, I don't see any news that says he doesn't. Is Martinelli good to keep? Based on the players that arrived at Bournemouth from yesterday's video, it did seem as if Martinelli was okay. So, I don't know. It's hard to call this one, but I don't think we get any more news. Would I take the risk and start Martinelli? I honestly don't mind just doing Martinelli to Johnson, for example. All good. Thank you, very, very nice. Thank you all for letting me know. Would you go from Salah to Luis Diaz to cover the Liverpool attack? I don't think Luis Diaz is the way that I would cover the Liverpool attack. Like, surely there are better players to go for. And I think in terms of Liverpool assets right now, Salah is the only one I'd be confident to go with. So if you're selling Salah, I think just go for and you need to downgrade him. I think just go for the Spurs guys. Patrick says, sell Robbo / Pedro, Solanke and Mikalenko for -4, bench Rogers or Robbo out for free to Porro and Pedro for Cunha next game week. Mm, I think roll. I probably roll. I probably roll. Melissa says Saka, Palmer, Watkins, and Solanke for captain. Still can't get to Haaland just now. I don't really understand what that means. Sell Saka for Son. That is what I'm doing. That is what I'm doing. 230 watching. Let's hit the like buttons. If you guys are watching and you haven't dropped a like, please do drop a like on the stream. Now YouTube is saying that the stream is buffering. I mean, I have no idea now. Hopefully everything is good. We got a couple more minutes to go, so hopefully it's all good. The tech issues have really plagued today's stream. What do you think of Diaz to Rashford? Not keen on that. Not keen on that. Is Son injured? No, Son is fine. Explain why Saka to Foden never could happen. I think it's not that it never could happen. Like, to be honest, you could go there. For me, I'm just looking at someone who is going to be an option for a longer period of time, because the next time I'll make a transfer on that same spot is game week 12. So I need that player to be good for 4 game weeks. And over the 4 game weeks, do I prefer Son or Foden? My answer is Son. Thank you very much, BJ, for the donation again. Much appreciated. It'll all go to Mindset, of course. Rogers or Vouface? Rogers. Don't have Johnson or Mbumo, but thinking of Diaz to Rashford. Could Rashford smash it out of the park this week? Like, honestly, I would stay clear of Manchester United assets. I would stay clear. Will you sell Trent and Rogers for Lewis and Johnson? Wow, this one is interesting. Actually, yes. I don't mind these moves. If for free, of course. I really don't mind. Worth replacing Semenyo because of the fixtures. I would say that come game week 11 onwards, his fixtures are really good. So if you're able to just bench him these few, I don't mind just holding on to him. Why don't you play Aina instead of Rogers? I prefer the attacker. And I think Villa could nick a goal or 2 against Fulham. But I do think like Aina defensively against Crystal Palace could keep a clean sheet. But it's just, I prefer starting the attacker in this spot. Sell Mavadidi or Semenyo. Mavadidi has a good fixture this week. Surely if it's between either one of them, it'll be Semenyo. Rogers or Ahmad? Rogers. Thank you very much, VJ, for the plug. If you guys haven't dropped a like on the stream, unfortunately it has been plagued with lots of tech issues, but if you're still here and you're still watching, I think there's about 240. Thank you all for still staying with me despite all the tech issues. So if you're watching, you haven't dropped a like, please do drop a like to help us to hit 100 likes, which is the aim. As always on all the streams, just 100 likes. Everything is good, thank you very much, Nicholas. Semenyo to Smith Rowe, not very keen on that move. Like, Smith Rowe is a player in the kind of category where he's like a don't buy and don't sell. Like, I wouldn't buy him if I don't have him, but he's also a player that I wouldn't rush to sell as well. Porro, Robinson, Vandenberg, who to start? Porro. I think ESR should start over Jimenez this week. I don't think it's over Jimenez. I think it's over one of the midfielders, if I'm not wrong. I think it's over one of the midfielders. Lewis or Rogers, who to start? Lewis. Rico Lewis against Wolves. Start Mikalenko or Trent. Start Rogers or Luis Diaz. I would start Trent. And then if it's Rogers or Luis Diaz, I mean, for what it's worth, I think Luis Diaz will start. For what it's worth, I think Luis Diaz will start. So I don't think holding on to him is the worst thing in the world. But again, it is guesswork, right? We won't know if he's truly going to start. And then obviously, you think about Luis Diaz moving forward as well. He's not a player you can guarantee to start every single week. So if you could just use a transfer to do something like Luis Diaz to one of the Spurs guys, I don't mind it. Need your view on what's better, Trent to Lewis along with Semenyo to Johnson, and have Dominic Calvert-Lewin up front, or Trent to Lewis, Semenyo to McNeil, and change Dominic Calvert-Lewin to Solanke. I prefer the first one. Basically, Semenyo to Johnson and just have Dominic Calvert-Lewin up top. I prefer that one. So Melissa says, who would you captain from I see. Okay, all good. So who would you captain from Saka, Palmer, Watkins, or Solanke because you don't own Haaland? I don't think the rest are honestly captain material. Like Watkins and Solanke, I don't think I'd be very confident to captain them. So it's between Saka and Palmer, and I also do think Saka will start. So I'd probably have the captain's armband on Saka, because he's a player that obviously, if he happens not to start, I don't think he'll get subbed on as well. And then just make sure that you have a vice captain. Make sure you have the vice captain on someone that you're certain is going to start. So maybe vice captain Palmer then. One Daniel Hasif says, my consultant Vardy and Foden or Watkins and Mavadidi. Watkins and Mavadidi. This one is tricky. Maybe Watkins and Mavadidi. Yep. I go that way. Salah and Watkins to Jota and Haaland for a -4. Thoughts? Salah and Watkins to Jota and Haaland. I think the -4 for Haaland is fine. I wouldn't go Jota. I would go one of the Spurs players. Is it next week or later shall I get Palmer? I think next week is one of the windows. If you don't get him next week, then I think the next one is game week 12. I don't think you get him kind of, against Liverpool. I mean, now is fine if you think that you want him against Liverpool, but I feel like the windows are game week 9 and game week 12. Palmer/Saka versus Son/Foden for chasing rank. If you're chasing rank, then obviously it's Son and Foden, right? Those who are lower owned. Which two defenders would you start out of Robinson, Aït-Nouri, Harold Bellis, and Greaves? Robinson and Greaves. Robinson and Greaves. The lap instead of Rogers? Yes, I'd probably do that. James Madison okay to buy? Yes, for sure. Any team photos of Saka? Not at the moment. There's a clip that's going around, but I don't want to show it on today's stream simply because we don't really know. We don't have conclusive news on whether it is Saka or not. So basically, there was a clip circulating around Twitter where people were looking at the players coming off the bus, off the Arsenal team bus, and there was this player who was kind of putting the hood on and carried a bag that kind of looks similar to what Saka carries. but they can't be conclusive as to whether that was Saka. And aside from that single player, which we can't identify, there was no kind of indication. There was no other player, like Saka wasn't there. So if that player that we couldn't identify is not Saka, basically he didn't travel. So we can't really conclude based on that. So I don't think it's useful to show you guys the clip. Yeah, but basically it's gonna come up to all the way up till the deadline, if I'm frank. Like, I'm not making the move now, but I do think like Saka to Son is a very likely move that I make closer to the deadline. Like, I'm pretty sure that if we get no news at all, I think I would do Saka to Son. The only news I'm waiting on is if we get leaks that Son does not start, which I don't think will be the case, but that's the only reason why I'm delaying the transfer, because Spurs are the early kickoff. Right, so say for example, if Spurs were the kind of later kickoff, like the 3 p.m. kickoffs, for example, I would have made the move on stream already. But now there's a chance I'll know if Son starts or not, so why not just wait a little bit longer? Rodgers over Jimenez, Palmer, Boomer, or Johnson? Nah. No, I would bench Rodgers in that situation. Tushar, all good. Crispy says, start Greaves against Everton or Robinson against Villa or Dunk against Newcastle. Surely not Dunk. Then it's Robinson or it's Greaves. Prefer Robinson then. Keep Jackson long term and save my one free transfer or go to Solanke. I think now is a great time to hop off Jackson, so I don't mind the Solanke move with one free transfer. Son, Madison, or Johnson. If you can afford, I would say Son. If not, then Johnson. Lewis or Vardiol. If I'm wildcarding now, I think this one comes down a lot to team structure. Like, because he's so much more expensive, right, Variol as compared to Lewis, it comes down to team structure and whether it'll block your moves later down the line. If you need the money, then I don't think going for Lewis is that bad of a pick. No Haaland, should I wildcard to get him in? I think deciding to wildcard is much larger of a decision. Like, you need a lot more issues in your team. If it's just Haaland that you need to get to, I don't mind taking a hit, even if it means that you need to, just to get Haaland in. Foden for Saka, I don't mind it. I prefer Son though. Melissa, all good. Clarence says, Winks to Foden, Son, Saka, or Palmer. For now, I think out of all these options, and if I'm going for one this week, I think Son is the one. Serene, all good. Hiyashinsu says, thoughts on Kudus. Don't think I would go for him. Don't think I'd go for him. Foden or Palmer? Foden for Palmer. I would keep Palmer this week. Thank you for all your help this deadline. Thank you very much. I'm happy to help. There was a bit of technical issues, so I'll rewatch the stream later on, but hopefully there wasn't any kind of too big of a glitch. What do you think about putting Watkins? I think it's fine. It's just that Villa's fixtures very soon start to get quite tricky. So, yeah, that's. I mean, I don't think Watkins is someone I would have on my wild card, basically. Gundogan is a good shout. Didn't go for the international break, playing in the spaces, gets in the box. The only thing for me is, are we certain he's going to start week in, week out? And it's the same with all the Man City midfielders, to be honest. Foden or Rashford, if it's between them, then I would choose Foden. Son, Foden, or Palmer, I'd go Son. Who to bench? Rodgers, Calvert-Lewin, and Gordon. I would bench Rodgers. Yeah, I would bench Rodgers. Play Rodgers or Dibbling. If Saka doesn't play, it wouldn't matter though. Rodgers ahead of Dibbling. James says good morning and good luck everyone. Good luck to you too, James. Start Rodgers or Arena. I would start Rodgers. Start Rodgers or Konsa. I would start Rodgers. Gonna start Havertz. Yes, I'm gonna start Havertz. Start Hall or Robinson. The thing with Hall is that I think Trippier is the one that has a bit of a hamstring injury now. So Tino Livramento is likely going to start, right, against Brighton. But again, I think Brighton's attack is pretty good, so quite tricky this. Hall or Robinson? Probably start Robinson. But Palmer has tough fixtures ahead. Will he perform? I think that's the big question, right? That's the big question. Saka to Foden or Son for 4 weeks, but taking a -4 hit. If you're taking a -4, I don't like it. I think you're fine to just keep Saka. Who to play between Mikalenko, Raul, Smith Rowe, and Greaves? In my team, I have Edison, Trent, Lewis, Gabriel, Saka, Mbumo, Rogers, Johnson, Haaland, Solanke. Wow. Who to play between Mikalenko, Raul Jimenez, Smith Rowe, and Greaves? So I'd say Raul Jimenez. If it's to choose one. Bench 1 of Rogers, Semenyo, and Diaz. Semenyo. Garnacho for Saka? No way. I wouldn't do that. And Andre says Pickford with Anderson or Flecken/Sells with Davies, Van de Ven. I'd say Flecken and Davies. Thoughts on Sanchez and Jota out for Pickford and Johnson in? I honestly don't get the appeal with Pickford. I think, the fixtures moving forward are decent enough for him. But I still think like Flecken is the one I would go for when I look at the horizon, like all the way until game week 19. Flecken's fixtures are still better than, let's say, Pickford, for example. Pickford actually has a fixture swing from game week 12, so something to bear in mind. Johnson is fine. Have a free transfer, Trossard to Johnson. I think Trossard is fine to keep this week. And UFC, have a good game week. You too as well. I plan to wildcard. Who should I bring in? Planning on transferring out Palmer and bringing new attackers and defenders. If I was wildcarding this week, will I have Palmer? That's a good question. I think I would. In fact, I think the combination of two premium midfielders I would have on the wildcard is Saka, Son, and then up front Haaland. That's what I would do. Thoughts on an ideal team formation moving forward? I think for now it's still 3-4-3. Salah, Rogers, and Trent to Son, Foden, Van de Ven for free. Yay or nay? Yes. I don't mind it. I would do that. Who to get in place of Nkunku? You still have Nkunku in the team. Johnson probably 6.5 as well. My team's the same as you, except I have Solanke instead of Havertz and did my transfers like 2 weeks ago and didn't budge. Honestly, if you have the exact same team as me and just have Solanke in place of Havertz, I honestly don't think you need to make any transfers. So, solid team. All the best to you too. Whoop-de-whoop. Why not use McNeil instead of Johnson? Spurs get a tough schedule, then Everton a lot. Well, Spurs are not in the Champions League, so I think already compared to previous times, they have a much easier kind of fixture run. And when you're comparing to Everton, for example, yes, in the next few game weeks, both of them will start to have fixture swings from game week 12 onwards. But attackingly as a team, I would prefer to back Spurs instead of Everton. I've made the switch from Saka to Son, already got Johnson as well. Do you think triple Spurs soon with Solanke would be a good idea? I think triple Spurs attack feels a bit heavy of an investment, so I probably wouldn't do that. So I think for me the maximum is 2. So if I do Saka to Son, I think that is pretty much it. Like, I don't think I would do any more. I think Saka is out tonight. Do we have conclusive news on that? Do we have the news on that? I don't think I'm seeing anything from Twitter at least. Trying to see if we get any leaks. I mean, I don't think we'll have any, to be honest. Yeah, nothing. So I think for now Saka's situation is still as is. We don't really know. Rogers or Adama Traore / Andreas for the next 6 game weeks. Stream's gone again. Stream's gone again. I think we might have to end this. There's lots of tech issues today. Alright, I think I've just got back, I think, based on what I'm seeing. Okay, let's wrap up this stream with a couple more questions. Thank you all for tuning in. This, unfortunately, has been quite choppy, so I do apologize for that. But if I haven't gotten to your questions, just drop it in the chat. I'll just do a quick fire round of maybe like 5 to 10 more minutes, and then we'll call it a day. I think the internet is also asking me to call it a day. Notice you don't have any Manchester United players? Yes. Is Saka playing? So we don't really know. Hopefully you get leaks, though I don't think it's conclusive. For what it's worth, I think he will. So should I keep Palmer? Yes, you should. Do Semenyo to Johnson or leave it? I don't mind Semenyo to Johnson. I would do that move. Can you choose the best wildcard player? Right now, game week 8, if I wildcarded, the best player for sure is Haaland. I would have him captain for most weeks as well. Mikalenko or Davies long term? Davies. Saka, Diaz, Jackson to Foden, Son, Cunha for free. Aim his next 4 game weeks. Yeah, I think that works. I think Aina is good this week. Yeah, I think so too. It's just, do I think he's better than Rogers, for example? Or would I start him ahead? I think Rogers is the only player I would start him ahead of. So it is close. But then I usually tend to back the attacker, right? So I guess that's my thinking right now, but you make a good point. I think Aina's fixture is quite good. I'll have a bit more of a think on that one too, but I think for now still thinking about benching Aina. If you do think like he is better to have this week instead of Rogers, I don't mind, just swapping it around if you're in a similar situation to me. Joel. Should I do Havertz and Semenyo to Cunha and Johnson? I think Havertz starts this week, to be honest. So if you're able to bench Semenyo, I don't mind just laying off on those transfers until next week. Will you keep Havertz and Saka? I think I'm more likely to sell Saka to Son. Should I keep Luis Diaz or transfer to Maddison? I would be tempted to just transfer to Maddison this week. Maddison or Johnson, I prefer Johnson. If you go for Son to replace Saka, that means you have 2 attacking Spurs players, which you have preached against. I don't preach against having 2 Spurs attackers. I think having 3 is too much, but I think 2 is the maximum that I would go to, which is what I would have if I do Saka to Son. Is Palmer essential now? I wouldn't say essential, especially the fixtures that they have moving forward. But he is obviously a player really in form right now. Start Konza or Valtface. I think Konsa still. I still think Leicester defensively don't really strike me as a team I can count on. Though it's the better fixture like Southampton, I still go for Konsa. Son or Johnson? If you can afford, I'd say Son. No Haaland. Who should I captain? Salah, Solanke, Jota, Havertz, and Bernardo. The only real captain option there for me, I feel, is Salah. Against Chelsea, I honestly don't mind it. Yeah, probably if those are the picks, probably Salah. Is Solanke instead of Havertz good? Yeah, I think it's an alright move. Like if it allows you to get more Spurs assets, for sure. Right, so we're gonna call it a day here. I have to apologize for the choppy stream. Hopefully when I watch this back it wasn't too choppy, but I do apologize because the internet is a little bit shaky today. But thank you all for still bearing with me on the charity stream. So everything again that we get from today's stream will be going to Mindset Charity. If you're rewatching this just before the deadline and you're somehow watching this part, all you have to do is subscribe, and we will be donating more money to charity. If not, I'm gonna leave it at that. Thank you all for tuning in. I will again post my confirmed team on Instagram at the channel that you see here on the pinned chat. So if you want to be part of the chat and just basically keep up to date with exactly when I make my move and what my team is, all you have to do is join the broadcast channel. Right, Vincent, let me just get to your question. Rogers or Adama / Andreas for the next 6 game weeks? I may have missed this one. Apologize for that. Rogers. I'll still stick with Rogers. I don't think I will move to any one of Adama or Andreas. Apologies for missing the question. If not, I think I'm gonna leave it at that. The internet is also dying already, so I try to fix this off stream, and then hopefully next week we'll be back all good. So thank you for tuning in. All the best for Game Week 8. FPL is back, and again tonight I will be recording the Game Week 9 Ultimate Wildcard video, which will be out after today's games. If not, thank you, and I will see you guys in more content very, very soon. Bye-bye.